Hey, welcome to this episode of HD Conversations. I've got several local pastors here in different phases of their journey. And I just wanted to have this conversation today because early in the development of the Perfecting Church, one of the values that we had was to love the church, and not just our own local church, but to be lovers of the Big C church. Seems as though in our region, there's a stronghold really against loving one another as the Big C church, at least in many of the circles I was in. And we also came out of a church that did not have a church planting tradition, wasn't even part of our language. But early on, we established a church planting center where we helped other pastors work for revitalization of existing churches, and also pastors that were in the journey where they're discerning a call and working to plant a church. And then we've worked as coach, mentor, in some cases even pastored other pastors through that journey. So here we are, almost 12 years later, and I've just invited on some pastors today that I've had a relationship with, that I love, that I walk closely with, some even more closely than others, but every one of them could call me any time of the day. I drop what I was doing and be present with them. And with that thought in mind, I just want to invite you into their journeys, but also into the relationships that God is forming between us for His glory and for us to accomplish something good in our generation. So I'll just throw it out, y'all, just to start, and won't point it at anybody. We can just grab the ball and go. But I want you to introduce yourself to everybody. We'll all do it, just like who you are, name of the church that you're planting or a part of, and where are you in your journey. I'm just starting, still fundraising, still in the prayer planning stage, still discerning my call. You know, if you could just do that, just so everybody gets a sense of who we are. Ready, set, go.
You right?
I'm ready. Listen. So I am Pastor J.P. Heath. Me and my wife pastor a church together in Delaware, Newark, Delaware, but we're actually launching in Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah.
Named the Perfecting. I
Wow.
would say the Perfecting Fervent.
I love that's fire.
Yeah, it's fire.
Fervently perfect.
The name of our church is Fervent City Church, and we have actually been together now. My wife and I have been doing gatherings right now it's been about 8 months. We actually launched this September, September 12th, so we're excited about that. And we're actually, like I said, we're moving from Newark right now where we're holding services, and we're actually moving into a bigger space now in Wilmington, Delaware.
Nice. Thank you.
Great. What's up?
Well, I'm Pastor Joshua Millennial. I pastor a church, the Bridge Bible Church out of Mantua, with my beautiful wife, Melissa. We launched the church just this year, so we're in the first year of what God had ordained us to take a pastorate over a pastor that had left the state. So we did that for 2 years, and then the church got transitioned to us.
Yeah.
And then we launched our own church called the Bridge Bible Church. Me personally was ordained out of Camden, New Jersey. My pastor, Pastor Hugh Davis, who has an apostolic anointing. So many pastors have came through him, and I'm very pleased to be here. So for 15 years. Congratulations. And one thing I will say is so important about kingdom building is about freely giving everything God has given you. And that's something I've seen in Diverse But Not Divided since I've been. It's been a year with you guys, and it's been an utmost pleasure to be a part of it.
Josh, how many of the folks that were there in the previous church stayed when you relaunched Under the Bridge?
So I would say,
what percentage are you?
from when I first took the pastor over, many left. There was probably
Gotcha.
only 30
In that
stayed.
I got you.
And then we grew from that point
I got
to
it.
about 80.
Got it.
And now we've been consistent from the transition of,
So about 30 stayed, and then you grew from there.
yes.
Wow.
That's a good start.
Yes.
Believe me, it's different to start with zero. With you and
Yes.
your wife and your kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all.
Matt, where you at?
So my name is Matthew Wicker, Pastor Matthew Wicker. Embassy Life Church, we are in the beginning phases. So we are raising money, bringing people in, trying to grow a launch team. doing all of the discipleship, beginning
All of the
phase
things.
stuff, all the fun stuff, walking through all types of brokenness. It's just a lot all at the beginning, but it's super exciting and super fun to be able to see people transition from the very beginning, watching seeds grow, all
Yeah.
that good stuff. So yeah, that's where we are.
Nice.
That's good.
Thanks.
That's hard. My name is Keith Reed, Jr. I'm a church in Philadelphia. My father's a pastor at Sharon Baptist Church, and
The Sharon
yeah.
Baptist.
On the V. Like, and I lead a community called Echo, where we meet once a month, every second Sunday, and it's just a bunch of just folks like us, man, just just looking for a place where we can grow and be a part and feel love, because I mean, obviously, unfortunately, the church has got an interesting rep about different things, and just to be able to be honored to be able to be a part of building a space where they can feel welcome, they don't feel what they've been felt in previous past with different trauma and things. So I'm just super honored to be a part of that.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's awesome. So my name is Minister Marshall Washington. I am the new kid on the block. I am the youth ministry director, essentially the youth pastor here at the Perfecting Church underneath Pastor Kim Brown. It has been a wonderful journey to just sit and learn. I think that's the best way to explain my journey right now. God has been faithful and bringing me back to his will. And I am so blessed to have a great model as I am trying to essentially plant a church within a church with these youth and young adult here at Perfecting. It's just a wonderful testimony.
word up, yeah.
Well, my name is Ron King. I have the honor of pastoring the Living Hope Christian Center in Pennsauken. My wife and I pastor there. We have been. I'm closing in on year 4, coming into year 5 in October.
Wow.
I was able and honored to be the successor of my father. The church as a whole is celebrating 30 years of ministry in October, and so I was honored to be able to to come in and I guess take the baton and
Yes,
run the rest of the
sir.
way.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, that's where we are.
That's what's up.
One of the things I observed, I got called to the ministry at 22. At 22 years old, I discerned the call, didn't know what was happening. My pastor helped me navigate it and said, I've been waiting for this moment, as I started to realize I wanted to tell people about what God had done for me. That was what I was understanding. He saw down the road and said, I knew this day was coming. Reverend Walter A. McDaniel. And he immediately sent me to Bible College, sent me to Center for Urban Theological Studies Cuts, Geneva College at Christian Stronghold in Philly. And but I had someone that helped me walk through learning. I did not think I was called to the pastor. I was just trying to, you want me to do a Bible study or something, and that was it. But my point is, that was a rarity. There were not a lot of churches, in my experience, that were identifying and developing people for the pastorate and then helping to plant them and start them. I saw church splits. I saw people leave and go start Bible studies, but I didn't see a tradition like I see in the book of Acts where someone came and pioneered something, leaders were developed, hands were laid, and you left them and they pastored. And if I'm honest, part of my motivation in starting church planting centers just a longing that we could get back to the church in Acts, where there was a sense of community among us, a sense of shared calling among us, a sense of there's unique grace on him for this, unique grace on him for that, and churches working in a collaborative way. But I just wanted to hear from y'all. We can go back around the horn a little bit again. Like, what was your experience in discerning your call? And what have you seen as you begin to walk it out? Do you see a lot of one anotherness? Did you have someone publicly lay hands and affirm you? You know, what's been your journey? In my generation, I didn't feel like I saw a lot of that, particularly in black and brown led churches. I was surprised when I got out of my little tribal context to see less melanated iterations of the church. Like they were like planting like crazy, funding and raising funds, and you could take these 60 members and they'll go with you to go do what you're doing. And I just didn't see that experience much at all. And so I just want to see what y'all saw, and let's just throw it all out without naming names. It's gonna hurt people. let's be honorable and gracious. But what you see, Rob? Well, you said what you had, so
yeah, I'm gonna get mine out the way. So my story and who helped identify the call for me is kind of lengthy, but I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version.
Gotcha.
So for a period of time, I think in 2016, my wife and I we left New Jersey. And that was after my dad got elevated to being a bishop. And I'll never forget the reception of that service. The most random person came to me and was just like, "You're moving, ain't you?" And I was just like, "What?" Like, just like, are you like geographically moving? And I was just like, yeah. I was like, did my dad tell you? He was like, no. It was just like, he said, but you coming back here, right? And I was like, oh, am I? You know? So in at that period of time, I'm gonna be honest, I was a PK, and so the pressure of you next, right?
Yeah.
Like, what I mean, was always on me. And I was just kind of like, I'm good. I don't want that. I very much was okay with, being a musician, just the MD. I would have even been okay with being a worship pastor somewhere and just kind of calling it a day.
Yeah.
But I didn't want that level of, weight and stress. You know what I mean? And so there was almost like 6 or 7 years of me and my wife just kind of traveling. We were in Charlotte for a while. Then we were in Vestal, New York for a while. And we were just trying, I don't want to necessarily call it my Jonah season, but I was just kind of like, I'm not.
But it was your Jonah.
But it was my
Wasn't that what it was?
And I'm just like, yeah, I'm good, and so fast forward, 2020 hits, we get smacked with a pandemic. I don't think anybody knew, and then at that time we were in Vestal, New York. And so my dad called me, and they did not have the means nor the relationship to navigate through the pandemic. So, it was a lot of pre-recording. They didn't have the relationships for technology. They didn't have all of that kind of stuff. And so ultimately we developed a plan that ended up having my wife and I driving 3 hours one way, 3 hours back, just about every other weekend to make sure that things at home were good enough to at least kind of maintain. Fast forward some more, after maybe like a year or so of that took place, the pastors that we were under at the time, pastor's wife, Pastor Dawn Coudray, she's with Jesus now, God rest her soul. But she pulled us into the office and was just like, hey, what's going on? And I was just like, well, I'm just helping my dad out. They don't know how to stream, and they don't know how to do all of the other, things that we need to kind of do now in order to have church and all of that. And so she was just like, okay. And so I started explaining myself, and my wife, we were all sitting there. It was me, my wife, Pastor Joe, Pastor Dawn, and we were all sitting there and we were talking, and I'm just kind of like, I'm just dumping at this point, because at that point I'm feeling a lot of responsibility. I'm feeling a lot of pressure. I'm trying to be here for this church that I work at, you know what I mean? That I'm in staff at, you know what I mean? And then also trying to be there for my dad and my mom who have, who just kind of like lost their footing a little bit, And so as I'm telling my story, she stops me and she said, "Oh, okay. It sounds like you're ready to pastor." And I said, "What?" I'm like, no, like that's not, and she discerned it based off of the language of like she heard the burden in my conversation. She heard the burden in my conversation, and where as though I felt I was just being a good son. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what son wants to see their parents, you know what I mean? Ministry that they built crumble. So it's just like, I'm thinking I'm just being a good son, and she was just like, no, son, you're being a good pastor.
Amen.
And I was just like, wow, okay. And at that point in time, she released us because I had just signed on for another year at the ministry. I was just like, I'm gonna be here for another year. Like, we're gonna rock out, we're gonna keep going. And I had just signed for being another year at that ministry, and she released us. And she said, son, this is not us throwing you to the wolves. She said, I'll never forget it, man. She said, if this doesn't work, she said, you go and you try God. She said, if this doesn't work, you got a place to come back to. You got a salary to come back to. You got a 4-bedroom house to come back to. Like, everything that we have developed and was, you know what I mean? Like, everything that we were
to
in.
her hurt.
You see what I'm saying? Like, that was unheard of, especially in our culture. I was just like, what? And so she said, you go try it. And she said, if it doesn't work, you come back. You got a place to call home, and you got a place to work and all of that kind of stuff. And she said, and if it does work, we're here. You know, and lo and behold, I guess it worked.
It's working.
It's working. And so we started there, and when I got ordained and my dad laid hands on us, they were there at the ordination.
Oh, they were there.
They came to the ordination.
That was so
It was just
Pastor Dawn.
Pastor Dawn Kudre.
Special. That's a gem.
That's
The
crazy.
running remind me. Is that a good handoff for you?
I see what he did there.
I see what he did there.
Run on
Literally, that was crazy. Nah, but in all jokes aside, I echo your experience. I'm a PK. See the difference. Same thing. Everyone told me this is what you are going to do, and this is where you're going to do it. But see, I got a rebellious spirit, so I said I'm going to do everything else but this.
Yes, sir.
So when I tell you, if you look at my resume, there's just everything that you can
else
think
but
of.
this.
I was in construction, I was in insurance, I was a salesman. Because I did not want to do this.
Wow.
But the pandemic, of course, it changed our whole perspective of life. But I will be really honest. I think it was, I started really talking, to the Lord, and the Lord started showing me some things about fulfillment and pointing me back to Him about the only thing that can satisfy that void, because there was a void, was Him. So of course I stepped out on faith, and I said I'm gonna start pouring into the ministry. I'm in my father's church. I've been preaching since maybe 2012. And it was funny when the pandemic hit. Church took a hit, and a lot of things were happening within that did not really provide a lot of opportunity, if that makes sense. So I don't know if I've ever said this to him. 2022, I moved from New York to Delaware, and I reconnected with Keith, the guy sitting next to me. And at the time, Keith was really pushing, and he still is now, the young adult millennial ministry through Sharon. And he actually invited me on to the leadership team. Not even knowing my full story, not even knowing all the things I was struggling with. So that's how I knew, this is God talking to me. So then I was like, all right, okay. So I just was sitting in the background, just helping out with events here and there, just being in the background, doing what I wanted to do, being comfortable, not even really saying a lot in the meetings. Until finally, they kind of put me on the spot. They made me do a couple things. Ended up teaching there. Ended up actually doing a lot of more, leading than I even thought that I was supposed to do. To where the Lord even said to me, "This is how I want you to pastor." Like the framework, essentially, that Keith, you planted, actually painted visions, essentially gave me visions to what ministry could be. Because I'm going to be 100% honest, I come from a old school Baptist, traditional church. And unfortunately, my mindset when it came to ministry was based off of my experience. I didn't know it was anything but that. So when Keith offered me an opportunity to serve, it opened up the possibilities of how we could do ministry. So then when I came here, got connected to PK in his old PK fashion. He put you to work, He put you to work, and in that, we got closer together, and then opportunities for me to even make connections and also pour back into the church here started happening, where the Lord said, yeah, this is where you're supposed to be, and you are supposed to pastor. And that's essentially how I got here. If I could really be honest, this is not a part of my plan.
Yeah.
But then honestly, is it ever supposed to be a part of my plan? Right? So,
That's
I
hard,
heard my pastor said, he said, we plan lives we never lived.
right.
Wow.
Live lives we never lived.
Right.
Jeez. That,
Right.
he didn't subscribe to anybody else. I think he said it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's so true.
Yes, it is.
The longer you live, the more true it
Right.
becomes.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, it's
So,
similar.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Bro, when you talk about running,
Yes,
bro, anytime somebody says something, you're rowing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, out the way.
Out
Like, and what happened, I think what was the real, and this was also, like, I knew that I was called, but I still ran.
Yeah.
You know, and as I got older, I began to get good in other areas. And I was like, oh no, it's up now. Like I don't need to do that. I'm cool.
Right.
And then God has a way of just also just taking everything away from you. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, what's left?
Yeah.
Got to go back to where you know what I'm saying was. And I think that what was one of the biggest tipping points for me, when you talk about developing your personal relationship, in fellowship with God, was when I was traveling with Josh McDowell.
Yeah.
And that was the first time ever I have ever heard opinions outside of and contrary of what the Bible talked about. Like I ain't never heard nobody talk about the earth was this and the different molecules. I never heard it wasn't in there. Like I ain't never heard that. And I went through a season where I was like, yo, this is crazy, because if what they saying is true, then my father is preaching a lie and he getting paid for it. Like that was my thought. I'm like, yo, this ain't right. This ain't right. So I was like, I went into pastor with, look, guy, you gonna have to show me something. You know, and this is also while I'm wrestling with this, but then also preaching youth ministry classes. So I'm over here preaching youth classes. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm still wrestling with what I'm going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I went through the span between a couple of months, and God just began to reveal different things to me as I was just diligently seeking Him. And then after that moment, it was like, okay, I know that I'm not here for no reason. I know that I didn't go through this for no reason. And now it's a matter of, on some like Joshua type time, like you got to cross the river. And even though it's like, you know what's on the other side, but you still trying to fight whether or not you really got to cross. Right. You know what I'm saying? You really got to go through. And I think that in that space, that was where I began to develop, and I began to lean a little bit more into my father. I mean, it's like, it's one thing like when you know somebody, but it's nothing when you live with somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and you start to see all of the people on the outside. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, talk to my dad. I'm just like, I guess my dad is kind of the truth. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, you're used to it. You know? And so it wasn't until, man, like after that space, after that season, I really began to like just diligently watch him. And how he handled things, and how he just prepared for messages, and how he delivered it, and how he dissected things. And I was just like, okay, I see what's going on here. And I began to develop an appetite just for that. You know what I'm saying? And now God is just, still working on me, in me, through me, and I'm just happy to be here. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'm next. Okay, so I would say my journey might be a little unconventional. Grew up traditional Baptist.
Yes, sir.
And that's the only experience I've ever had. But I grew up in the background. Didn't come from. None of my family members have ever been preachers. The closest to any type of talent in church was my father. He used to be a drummer. I found that out when I was grown at the church. I was a drummer, grew up in church. I was fine and content with that. But I went through a season right around end of 2014, 2015, early 20s, where I found myself homeless. Living in Philadelphia, living out my car, had a job, I'm supervisor at UPS. I'm out here, but I got a car I couldn't afford, right? So I'm living in my apartment, right? But it's on wheels. So I go through that season, find my wife, random quartet concert. I don't know if anybody familiar with quartet singing. Was on a group, found my wife, and from that point, it felt like God kind of put me on a fast track of, okay, now it's time to get your life together, right? So went from homeless to apartment, and first apartment, didn't really understand what God was going to do to me in that apartment. But I got a place to lay my head, and I couldn't sleep no more.
Wow.
So I remember it was nights where I'm like, God, what are you saying to me? Because I'm like, I've been in church my whole life, but never had an intimate relationship with the Lord. And it was nights. I remember it was days I just didn't want to move out the house because I literally had not slept. Trying to discern, God, what are you trying to say to me? Right? Because I really don't understand your voice yet. But I know you're trying to say something because I can't sleep. Right? But I was playing the drums, musician at Greater Bible Way Temple in Philadelphia. Went to Bishop Peterson. God bless him, because he was like, oh, you're being called. Oh, that makes sense. Even though I'm like, that don't make sense to me, right? Because I've never been the type of person that someone would say, oh, you're a preacher. Never even spoke behind a mic before. Right. Never shared the gospel with anybody. So that was never on my bingo card, right? So he said, oh, you're being called. Let's get you through the courses. Let's put you in classes. Let's see where the Lord leads you. Get ordained, get licensed. And then from that point on, my wife and I think we went through a season of being prophetic word magnets, which was the most frustrating thing. You go to an event and I'm not there for that. Right. I'm not there for that. I'm helping out with sound, and you get called out from the back. Hey, you're supposed to pass it. What?
Yeah. In the wrong place.
What I'm serving food, and I'm putting stuff there. Oh, you called, right? To that. What are you talking about? That's not. But I believe that God literally had to break me down in order to build me back up. Because he had to show me, okay, this is what you saw, but this is what I'm going to do. Right? This is what your experience was, but I'm going to show you a new thing. Right, and it's because of, I believe, that journey that I was able to actually start hearing his voice, because I lost everything. Right now, hindsight, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. But while I was in it, it was the worst absolute feeling, because I'm like, I am being betrayed by life right now.
Absolutely.
But I was able to hear God's voice, and he was able to put people around me that helped me just discern and hear his voice, that I was able to know, okay, this is where he's actually called me to be.
So it sounds like all of y'all are saying, to a person thus far, y'all all somebody's along the way has just kind of been helping, calling it out, identifying it, affirming you. That's How about you, JP? What is that? Can you say the same?
Yeah, I would literally say, since I was a kid, I didn't want to. I was pretty much the same way as a kid. My grandfather's a bishop. I'm always in the office with all the pastors, the bishops, everybody, because I'm there with him. And, everybody would say, hey, come here. Whose child is this? And as hearing it over and over as you grow up, I was like, pastors are corny. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be no pastor. Like, look at them. They gotta wear suits all the time. Right. Like that was my mindset. I was young. I was like, they have to wear suits all the time. They can't do it. Oh, they have nice cars though. You know what I mean? Like that was my mindset. But so I tried to do complete opposite. I mean, literally the complete opposite. I tried to get out of the streets. I tried to do this, try to do that. And every time it didn't work out for me. I was horrible being bad. I was horrible trying to be me. trying to be somebody else. Let me say that. And then it took for me. I started feeling the call, but every church I was at, I was known as, hey, that's the worship leader. Yo, he creative director, he gonna kill.
Yeah.
And that's all. My mindset was like, all right, that's what I'm gonna do. That's what God said. Ministry is that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a full time. And Ron know he'd have been with me for years. But I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be an artist. I'm gonna be a worship pastor and creative director. That's all I care to do. And as I had went to my last church, my pastor was Pastor Ted Winsley, and literally when I had got with him, I had told him, I said, I want you to mentor me. And I said, I want to join your church though. And they were just about to plant the church, and I said, I want to join church. Then you mentor me. He's like, that's weird. You
gonna call it right?
Yeah, you gonna call it out. So I said, all right. So he's like, just give me some time with you. He's like, I'll mentor you. He's like, but be a part, learn, grow. I said, okay, cool. And I actually submitted fully. My wife, because at that time we were hurt. We didn't want to be nobody's church. Literally was thinking about starting a church then, because I was like, man, I'm not sitting on nobody else, man. These pastors are all this. And God sent me there, and he walked me through step by step. Everywhere he went, I went. Everything. And it was like the Samuel Eli. You know what I mean? So it was like I was sharing things, and he was like, all right, go back to God. You know what I mean? And honestly, all those years of me doing, even when I was in, middle school, a teacher told me, she literally said in front of the class, she's like, yeah, Mr. Heath would either be dead or in jail by this time of age. You know what I mean? And because I was trying to be something that God never intended for me to be. You know what I mean? So as I started getting closer, my former pastor was teaching me like, all right, this is how you hear God for yourself. Stop listening to people. Because again, you get the prophecies everywhere you go. So now it's like, okay, so what does that look like for me? But being there, God, I was able to build that relationship with God myself, and really start, okay, what does it look like to be who God's called me to be, not who JP want to be? Because I was trying to be an artist. I was trying to be the artist, traveling, singing all the places, and I was like, I'm not fulfilled. To the point where, I share this with people in my church, that like it was one Sunday, God moved. The church was tore up, and I was leading worship, and I was like, I never go back and listen to myself because I hate how I sound. So I'd never go back. But this Monday, I went back and watched it, and I was watching it, and God was just speaking to me and looking. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Like God moved, and God was like, had nothing to do with you at all. You were absent. My presence was there. And when I tell you, I sat there and I've been getting to cry because God showed me my pride. I always thought it was about me. Anytime I'm singing anywhere, it's about JP. Didn't really have to. I studied the word so I could fight against people when they talk about, you got tattoos, you got earrings, you got this. I studied the word so I could fight. I fight. I was apologetic. You know what I mean? But I wasn't. I didn't have a relationship with God. So I'm leading people in worship, and sometimes God is moving. Sometimes it's just me, all me, and it's like, I got so frustrated and overwhelmed and hurt by that, because I was like, man, nobody shared this with me. I'm in jobs and churches that singing there. And nobody really was like honest with me, like,
wow.
And God really got me at that point. And then from that day forward, no lie, I started taking it serious. I really started like taking it serious to the place where I was like, even when I felt like I was off, I'm like, hey, y'all eating today. I can't. I want to make sure, But then God started maturing me on that. Like, hey, come on, you got responsibility. You know what I mean? So, it took years and years and years and years for me to accept the call, even to the place where I'm sure not every pastor's, want to be a pastor. I get scared when people say, hey, I want to be a pastor. That's the scariest thing, because I'm like, you want to be this?
One of the things I heard consistently among y'all, which I hear pretty consistently for people being called by God, is they're normally reluctant. It's not something people are normally running towards, and it's why I'm bringing up this thing about relationship. One of my excitements and one of my concerns for the season and generation y'all are in is that it seems to me, generation that was ahead of me, there was a heavy fathering kind of impulse from them, meaning they would appoint themselves spiritual father in your lives, and it was pretty heavy in what their expectation, what their direction, that kind of thing was, or you were a bastard all by yourself. It seemed like it was one extreme or the other. But when I look at your generation that y'all are in, it seems to me you have access to so much information. You have access to so many things you can find in other ways outside of relationship, that it seems to me that y'all don't have the relationships or in the same way that we did, even though ours were heavy-handed. Am I reading that wrong, or is that something that y'all are seeing too? As a matter of fact, I would even say in some cases don't trust or want relationship. You know, really good at critiquing what the church did wrong, and really kind of separating from that. And really, I want to see community, family restored, not just in the local church, but among the big C church. I think y'all have the best chance to do it. And if I really share my motive, even having y'all here today, was I really wanted y'all to know each other, like really hear each other, really see some similarities from each other. And I want to have more times like this where we get together and bring in more old heads and just start to work together. We're all in the same region. But what do y'all see among your peers? I think y'all are exceptions, almost everyone. But among your peers, am I reading it wrong, or is it really like a I got it kind of mentality for those that are trying to plant, lead, and stuff? Like you said, y'all doing it wrong, I'm ready to start, but you didn't. God intervened. But
Thank God.
Yeah.
Now that I'm seeing it, oh my gosh, I would have destroyed a lot of people's lives. Because it was about me. You know what I mean? The reason of pastoring was about y'all this way, y'all wrong, and this that, and I was going to end up doing the same thing, pouring what was poured on me to somebody else. So I would say,
comment on it, Ron.
So I see, I agree. I think that I see two ends of the spectrum. It's like drastic differences. I either see the Pauls and the Timothys, or I see the Sauls and the Davids. You know what I'm saying?
Major.
So I see like the people who feel like they could do this without a pastor or without some type of accountability, without some type of checks and balance, you know, and they usually are like that because they've seen the abuse, you know, Saul and David, you know, and it's just kind of like, you know, why are you abusing the relationship, like that kind of thing, and although that's obviously not favorable, right? It's not what you want. It doesn't take away the fact that every covering needs a covering. You know what I'm saying? Like it just is what it is. I mean, I've seen it. Of course, for the longest period of time, you know, my father, you know, was my pastor, and then as I started kind of like moving around and shifting around, I was always a son, right? So I just learned how to submit, you know what I mean, under others. Even during like those small duration or periods of time, and now that I'm back, you know, pastoring in Jersey, things have kind of shifted, you know. And I remember I had a conversation with me and my wife. We sat down with my parents and we talked, and I have the unique privilege of pastoring my parents, you know, which is really, you know, it's a unique privilege, you know. It's definitely something interesting, and I enjoy it, man. I also enjoy the fact that they are both there to be able to see the fruit of their labor, like, you know, just like right before their eyes, right? But we had the conversation that we felt like, my wife and I felt like the Lord was leading us to our current pastor now, and that conversation was freeing, you know, because I didn't necessarily know I didn't know what to expect at that point in time to talk to my father, who's always been my pastor, you know, to say like, hey, I'm feeling like, you know, we're being led to in another direction. And I knew that it was the Lord when the peace of God hit the table and in the middle of the conversation, and my parents' concern was more so me being connected to who I needed to be connected to for the next push of the ministry, you know, then owning rights to, you know, that, you know, he's that way because of me, you know what I mean? That's our boy, like, you know. And so it shifted my perspective to like, all right, man, like, you have a pastor who's over here, but here you got your parents. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got mom and dad. You know what I'm saying? And that dynamic has helped me. You know, of course, along with, you know, others who are trusted voices and mentors in my life. And my parents will always be there as the foundational, like, son, if you ever need us. You know, but I knew that I needed a pastor for this type, and you guys can speak to this as well. Like, pastoring, from what I saw beforehand, pre-pandemic, to pastoring post-pandemic is like the two different worlds.
Yes,
like church in and of
general.
itself, church in general is just two different worlds, like pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So having my pastor now, who has been just really a voice to the nations and kind of helped my wife and I just barrel through the path that we need to get to, it's been helpful.
Yeah, I think that sometimes, you know, Paul says we don't have many fathers, we have many instructors. I think a lot of times we struggle to be able to differentiate between the two. And to me, instructors major on information, and we need that. And quite frankly, I think if you have a healthy spiritual relationship with someone who's fathering you, and they major on relationship, you know, you're really, and doesn't mean they don't give you instruction, but the relationship means more to them than everything, so they're not threatened by you getting and receiving other ways and places as well. But that being said, I just want to pick back up and jump back to that. But I think the fathering thing is an issue. And maybe we also don't really understand that, you know, God is restoring a family. That's really what he's doing. You know what I mean? It's not a business. It's not an organization. It's not a platform. It's a family that God is restoring. And I love what you said, that if we can't be covered, you can't really cover, or every cover, really every father needs a father. You know, if you're going, because church is primarily about relationship, you know, and with instruction. So how do y'all feel you're navigating that? I mean, Josh, why don't you jump in, because your background's really unique. You know, your pastor is unique. I know him. He actually pastored my pastor before he left and began a church. So like all the stuff's interconnected. But yeah, what's your journey been on that?
So I'm a firm believer as well that you can't be in authority until you're under authority. Me personally, I came from being a pastor, started very low from being delivered from drugs. Once I was delivered from drugs, I ended up going to Salabach Baptist Church with a deaf ministry because my parents are deaf. I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? And the Lord told me in my heart, he said, set the church up and break it down. So I did that faithfully for a year. And as the Lord was ministering to my heart, he had told me to go to Camden under my pastor, Keith Davis, who I knew since I was 12 years old. You see, me and his son used to come to church at 14. As soon as praise and worship went up, everybody standing up, we out the back door. And over the years, I never knew that God was going to bring that full circle.
Mercy.
And as he called me back to Camden, all I ever did was I saw a gap and I had to fill it. And through service is how God elevated me to the pastor. I never desired to be a pastor. And as I saw myself, if anything, I saw myself taking over my pastor's ministry. But God had other plans, and because my pastor is a releaser, what ended up happening was a gap at Covenant Messiah Church under Pastor Debbie Grover. Went in, started, she had asked me to, get into a rotation where I had preached, one thing led to another. She asked us to take the pastor position. Me personally didn't want to do it, but the Lord had other plans. And you just submit to that. And as you do that, I fell in love with the people, and God just started causing that to grow. And we're a firm believer in Matthew 25 ministry. But it's so important to just really take care of the least of these. So I really look at myself as just someone that serves as a co-leader with everyone else, just like all you guys. That's why it is so important for us to be together.
Yeah.
Kingdom is about collaboration.
Yeah, that's good.
It's all about collaboration. And even like it says in 1 Corinthians, is it Paul or the Peter? It says, is Christ divided?
Yeah.
So I love this type of environment, being able to meet all of you and seeing how we come together and cause each other to grow. Because what I believe, if I pour into you, then you pour into me, and that's how things start to grow. And also on the point of having a father figure, I never had. My father wasn't in my life, for most of my life. He left when I was 11 years old. But once my pastor took that father role with me as well, it was so much more than just a Paul Timothy relationship. He showed me how to be a good husband, showed me how to be a good friend, and also too that same thing about shadowing him, through the Camden Dream Center, seeing how things move, and it would just really inspire me to continue to grow and saw what was inside of me, and that's how things manifested in my life.
And you've got an incredible evangelistic gift on you, which I don't often see. I mean, you not only pursue the least of these, but I see so many people come to Christ to get baptized under just you, just being present with people. And hey, y'all, we gonna need to pick this up again. Like, really, we gotta do like a B-side to this and go deeper. There really is so much more that I want us to share, but I want people to hear us sharing. But let me just say this. I really do think that God not only calls us to himself, but then he also calls us together. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we see evidence of that throughout the New Testament. We even see relationships being built by God, falling apart, being restored by God. I mean, the gospel often is moving on the grid of relationship. And I really am eager to title and role is not as important as relationship and us being generous towards one another with our experiences, our learning. Let God do the formal stuff for us. But because all of you have tremendous people in your lives, like literally you do. And y'all didn't even mention some of the names, but I mean, these are some of the most significant names up and down the coast that are the people that are pouring in y'all. I think the room of y'all right here, y'all are the voices that God will use in that next generation. I believe that about your lives. Like, I believe y'all are going to lead significant ministry. But what if revival doesn't come through any of your individual responsibility? It comes through your collective work. And what if we got back to where the church was doing collaborative things in cities that, because demons sure work.
All right.
But it's such a hindrance that the church has the spirit of the world in many ways. So that's my prayer for y'all. It's my hope for y'all. I'm definitely at the season in my life where I think maybe where I'm going next, more fruit grows on other people's trees than my tree, that I'm kind of investing into. So I'm eager for that. You know what I mean? Like, I actually got a couple things now where I know what it is to be in a season, y'all, where just I don't have nothing but God. But now I got God and some resource to see some things happen. So if y'all will be down, let's just run this back.
Let's do it.
Let's just run this back, and y'all tell me where we need to go deeper at, and we'll have some of that conversation. I got some stuff I want to pull out of y'all. But hey, if y'all were watching this, I hope that some of you are, because God doesn't only call us the pastor. God calls us in the public square just as much as he calls people behind the pulpit. And what we really need to see is the kingdom of God working that way in the public square, in the pulpit. The church becomes the place that equips people for the marketplace and for the world, rather than us being the show, us preparing people for the life. And I'm believing God for y'all to do that better than I've been able to. And I want to take y'all some places too, and let y'all meet some folks go to some hard places in the world together and let God build us together. So y'all can come with us too. We'll be back together again next week. We're just gonna run this back. Love you, bless you, bye.